When I first started offering hyperbaric oxygen in my clinic, I had no idea where that journey was going to take me. Today, I have the practice that I've always dreamed of, but the road to get here was not always smooth. It was filled with trial and error, and it was a pretty long and winding road for me. If I had to start over, there are definitely things that I would have done differently. Or I would have continued to do them, but I would have added them much sooner in that journey. I would love to help you shortcut your process. I'm Dr. Jason Saunders, and in this video, I want to share some of the biggest lessons that I've learned in 20 years of practicing hyperbarics. My hope is that this video helps you build a hyperbaric practice that's more successful, more fulfilling, and a much shorter journey between point A and point B. My entry into hyperbarics was not because I wanted to build a business of hyperbarics or even offer it to any of my patients. It was a personal story. But the results of that story were so incredibly powerful, I felt compelled to offer hyperbarics to my existing patients. As I first launched hyperbarics inside my clinic, I quickly found out that I lacked confidence. I did not know how people were going to respond. I didn't know what protocols to use that would be most effective. I didn't even know how to talk about hyperbarics to my patients. And so very quickly, my hyperbaric chamber became a really expensive piece of equipment that was incredibly underutilized, and it sat in a quiet room with the lights off most of the time. Looking back, what I realize now is there are really two categories that led to that underutilization. My ability to deliver hyperbarics appropriately, and then developing a business structure and framework that would support that delivery. On the hyperbaric delivery side, I lacked confidence and knowledge. I lacked experience on using my chamber and how to operate it properly and effectively. And there were times that I would allow patients to actually dictate what protocol they wanted to follow. What I realize now, what I was missing was the appropriate training in hyperbarics. Quite honestly, it wasn't even for lack of trying. I knew that I didn't know what I needed to feel confident about hyperbarics. I even took some courses that were available at that time, but none of those courses really delivered to me the information I needed to feel confident and to know what protocols to use, especially for the way that I was practicing hyperbaric medicine. Frustrated by that, I actually sat down and was forced to build my own training program for me and my clinic so that I can compile all of the pieces that were missing so that I can build confidence in my mind, build strategies in my office, build scripting conversations within the clinic, develop protocols that would be effective based on the current knowledge that was out there. And in many ways, that was really the beginning of building my hyperbaric clinic. I started to share the material that I was building for myself in my own clinic with other colleagues that were first getting into hyperbarics. And I quickly saw that this was one of the biggest shortcuts that they could take to skip years of uncertainty and underutilization of this equipment that they purchased. The feedback that I received was overwhelming. And that's really the information in the courses that we now teach in training and certification inside of hyperbaric medicine. And so if you feel like you resonate with that information, please, you don't have to take our course, but take a course. Take courses and certifications in hyperbarics to develop your knowledge and to develop your confidence so that you can build a successful hyperbaric clinic. If you're interested in our training and certification courses, I will leave a link in the description below. Click on it, check them out, and if they're a good fit for you, please go ahead, don't delay, take those courses. The second main category was having business systems and policies in place to support the hyperbaric business. We had other modalities and other services inside of our office: chiropractic, massage, acupuncture, functional medicine. We were offering a lot of different services, but each one of those is unique, and hyperbaric is also another unique service being offered in your clinic. They do not all fit the exact same business model or business structure. So developing a business and a structure around your hyperbaric chamber or chambers is critical for being able to be consistent in the way that you deliver this, and to not just have a modality that you offer in your clinic, but to build an entire business around these devices. This is really where you learn patient scripting, staff scripting. How do I want to talk about hyperbaric? How do I want to communicate about hyperbaric? What kind of patient flow do I want to have in my office? How do I really increase the patient experience of a new person coming to our office looking for hyperbaric oxygen? Most people looking for hyperbaric oxygen are curious, they're hopeful that it will help them, and they're also a little nervous. As you probably know, hyperbaric is also a long-term relationship. You're going to be seeing this person multiple times a week for weeks and months at a time. And if we don't go above and beyond in the patient experience, worse off, if we scare them or even hurt them on their first session or two, the likelihood that they will commit to the long-term care plan that they need to get the results that they're hoping for will be very low. So building the proper policies and procedures and flow is really important as far as the business model goes. Equally important is building a system that allows patients to gain access to the sessions that they need in a way that becomes affordable or convenient. The hours that you operate, the packages that you sell. This is really important to think through because it is a long-term commitment. It really has to be convenient and affordable for patients to see their entire care plan through. Additionally, the results of hyperbaric are often not immediate. It takes time. Hyperbaric is a cumulative therapy. Not every individual session is as important as the cumulative impact of multiple sessions a week for weeks and months at a time. If patients are not getting the results that they were hoping for as soon as they wanted them, it's possible for them to discontinue treatment. It's your job, it's your responsibility to help explain that process to patients, set the expectation appropriately, and check in on patients periodically throughout their protocol to keep them engaged. Having structures around this process that I'm describing will ultimately create a business around your hyperbaric chambers. Again, not just be a particular modality that you offer periodically to a few of your patients. As you can imagine, there's no way that I can tell you every detail of everything that I would change or do differently in over 20 years of practicing hyperbaric medicine. But the courses that we have and the consulting that we offer, those are designed to literally take you through whatever phase you happen to be in today towards whatever type of practice you were hoping to build. So if having any additional support on those topics that we're talking about is something you're interested in, check out the links that we'll leave in the description below so you can see what kind of programs we offer. And if something's a good fit for you, take some action and really invest in this process so that you can shortcut your journey building the practice of your dreams as quickly as possible. I wanted to leave you with some final thoughts on things that really stuck out to me as I was reflecting to make this video. The first one is on safety and compliance. I'll admit that I did not know enough about safety and compliance when I first got started. And while I was interested in safety and compliance, finding the information to be safe and finding the information to be compliant was very difficult to uncover. Now more than ever, knowing the rules and regulations, knowing how to be safe, and knowing how to be compliant is critically important for you inside your business. So if you haven't taken all of those steps, hands down, that's where you need to start now. If that's news to you and you don't know the rules and regulations and you're unsure of how to be compliant, we've created a compliance checklist so that you could at least look through all the different areas that govern the hyperbaric industry so that you can see for yourself how close to being compliant and following the rules and regulations you are, as well as developing a plan to make sure that you're meeting these requirements. And if you want that checklist, we'll also leave a link in the description below. You can have that checklist for free. Next, you really need to develop multiple explanations for how does hyperbaric work, why does hyperbaric work, why do you offer it, and what should patients expect. Use analogies whenever possible and come up with a number of different explanations. Every patient has a different experience in their life, and different patients learn different ways. So even if you think you have the best way to describe hyperbarics, it is not going to resonate with everybody who you're sharing that with. You really need to have multiple versions of that story. Your staff need to have multiple versions of that story so that we can utilize a number of ways to get our messaging out there and make sure that it's crystal clear to the person receiving them. Next is you need to have confidence in your recommendations. What does the research say about how long it's going to take to reach a certain destination for your patient? Set appropriate expectations so that patients understand that this is not an overnight process. It's a marathon. It is not a sprint. I think some practitioners get nervous because a long protocol might be expensive. Your job is not to worry about what your patient's budget is. Your job is to speak the truth and tell the facts. Those could be difficult conversations, but as a healthcare provider, your job is to guide them towards the results that they asked you for, not to tell them what you think they want to hear. Allowing patients to dictate their care also allows them to discontinue care prematurely, which creates an environment that may allow them to go back into the community saying, I tried hyperbaric and it didn't work, even though they didn't commit to hyperbaric the way they needed to in order to get that result that they were looking for. If for some reason you're telling them the protocol that they need to follow, but either time or their budget won't allow, it's also okay to say, maybe this isn't the time for you. I'd rather you come back when budget allows and actually do this the way you need to do it to get that result than to try it, go halfway, and then discontinue because time or money became an issue. And the last point is to monitor your patients and adjust the protocols accordingly. You need to have regular scheduled check-in points throughout their protocol. If they're getting frustrated because results aren't happening as quickly, you need to re-guide them and recreate a list of expectations that they need to have. You need to remind them of the earlier conversations that you had saying that this is a long-term process, not a short-term process. You may need to adjust their protocol, increase or decrease the frequency, increase or decrease the duration, increase or decrease the pressure to best suit that patient either for tolerance purposes or because the results are happening faster or slower than we were hoping that they would. I always tell patients, here's the general guideline for what the protocol is going to look like, but this protocol is fluid. And during those check-in points, we will be monitoring and adjusting that protocol based on how you're responding. Everybody responds to hyperbaric differently. Just like this is a marathon and not a sprint for your patients, this is a marathon and not a sprint for you and your business. It's going to take time, but evaluating these different areas that I'm talking about, reflecting back in your own business and adjusting your policies and procedures, adjusting your compliance, adjusting your patient flow so that hopefully your journey in practice is a much straighter line than mine was. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and I'll see you on the next video.